Hello and welcome to another pattern recognition video. So today we have clearance sacrifice patterns, where you sacrifice a piece to solve the tactic. At any time, pause the video if you need more time to think. I'll try and do at least 10 problems. And remember, if you solve chess puzzles and tactics, don't just do them once and then you might just forget about them. If you do them multiple times, like go through a set of 10, 20, 50 problems, however many you decide to choose, and then, first time go through them nice and slow, and after that, try and go through them faster each time. And if you go through them about 7 times, that'll help burn it into your long-term memory. I've said this before, so if you've watched the previous videos, let's continue here and see what we have. All right, white just moved forward here with the queen. It was under attack by a rook. So now something you want to look for is checks, captures, and threats in that order in any tactics, or most tactics, because checks are most forcing. So we do have this possibility of sacrificing the rook, but then do you have a follow-up after that? Let's see here. We could follow up, if the king captures, maybe we capture with the knight. But then what? And our queen is lined up here. We could capture this with check. But then if we do that, the king could just capture our queen, and I don't see much of a follow-up there. All right, so we want to look for clearance sacrifices. Okay, and so maybe we do have a follow-up. All right, what we want to do here, try and solve the puzzle on your own. It's always good to try and calculate as much as you can in your head before you start moving pieces. So as I mentioned, pause the video if you need more time. If not, here we go. So we are going to sacrifice this rook. If the king captures, then the clearance sacrifice comes into play. We sacrificed the rook, then we clear the path for this bishop here by bringing the knight up and delivering a check, and then we clear the path for the queen to capture their queen by moving our knight. So one thing you want to double check though, if you're doing a sacrifice or something that gives your opponent options. He doesn't always have to capture this piece. What if he has something better? He could just move, but if he goes here, we'll deliver mate with the queen. If he moves into the corner, we still could pick off that pawn with the queen. I don't know. This looks good though. So I'm thinking, all right, if we capture, he just gives up a pawn. And what does the material look like? We're ahead by a pawn. We would be ahead by 2 pawns if he doesn't capture here. If he goes into the corner instead. If we capture here with the rook and then he goes into the corner, we could grab another pawn, and then we're threatening the bishop. But then, we have to watch out. He could capture here. And then, anyway, I'll speed this along. I'm thinking we go here. We're just ahead in material if he runs into the corner. So Yes, they just, I probably overcomplicated. Now he decides to, instead of just giving up his queen, by our queen capturing, he at least takes a piece down with him if he's going to lose that queen. So we just capture, now we're up a queen for a bishop and a rook, and we're ahead by 2 pawns, and we have these 2 strong passed pawns here. All right, well, on to the next one so I can try and get 10 of these problems in. All right, rook has just moved, attacking our queen and stopping a potential mate here by our queen. All right, so what can we do? All right. Well, take a look at this. And remember that we're looking in these patterns to sacrifice a piece. And, either we sacrifice the piece and it clears a line for another piece, opens up an attack, or it could clear the way to capture a piece. But take a look at the checks first. Remember, that's pretty important if you look for checks. Then if there are no checks, look for captures and threats. All right, checks. We probably don't want to take here on g2 and just give up our queen because their rook can capture. What are other checks? Any of the checks on the back rank will be captured. So maybe we have another piece that can deliver a check, and that's probably a good hint for you. All right, pause if you need more time. If not, here we go. I'm thinking we bring the knight in, delivering a check. And remember, when a king is in check, he has 3 or less options. Capture the attacker, which he can do here. Block the attacker, which cannot be done when a knight is checking because there's no way to block a knight because they jump over pieces. Or run, and the queen is preventing the king from running and his own pawn is blocking him. So we're going to check, he'll capture, and then our rook can deliver a mate. So here we go. We sacrificed the knight to clear the way for this rook to deliver the mate. All right, on to the next problem. Knight has just captured in the center, attacking our queen. What do we have here? Okay, well, after the last problem, that should be a good hint on how to solve this one. So take a look at checks first, and that should tell you how to solve this one. All right, here we go. We're going to bring the knight here, delivering a check. So remember, 3 options. Capture the attacker, which is the only option in this puzzle, because knights can't be blocked and there's no escape for the king. So pawn will capture, clearing the way for our queen to deliver a check. And the only thing the opponent can do is delay by blocking with their queen, and we just capture and deliver mate. So a lot of lines here. So hopefully try and figure that out in your head. Take a look at it for you beginners out there especially. And here we go. Check, capture, check, block, capture with mate, because the bishop cuts off the escape, as does the pawn here. All right, on to the next problem. All right, what do we have here? Okay, well, we have a lot of pieces lining up on the king here. These rooks are firing up the H and G files. The bishop is cutting off a square here. The queen is aimed in that direction as well. So we're looking for a clearance sacrifice. So, look and see what we can sacrifice to clear the way for an attack. All right. Well, this one could be a little trickier. Do we have any immediate checks? Looks like just one. If we sacrifice there, king will be forced to capture the rook if the rook captures this pawn, because there's no way to block and no way to run because the bishop covers here, and once the rook is on h2, it will also cover that square, so the king can't run. He will be forced to capture, but do we have a good follow-up then? All right. Yes, it does look like we have a good follow-up. So try and figure that out on your own, how to proceed. Pause if you need more time. If not, here we go. We're going to sacrifice. Then the king will capture. We will check with the rook. The king will have to run to here, and then our queen can deliver a mate here. All right. And there you have it. Okay, I hope you're doing well so far. Let's try to do the rest of these problems. Knight just captured, attacking our rook. What do we have? Is there a way to go after the opponent's king? And it does appear there is a good way to deliver a mate here. See if you can figure it out. Look for the checks first. The knight could deliver a check here, but the knight is doing a good job of preventing the king from running. If we can just open up the H file. So how can we do that? All right, well, hopefully you found the answer. We're going to sacrifice the queen. Always fun to do if you ever get a chance to sacrifice your queen, as long as it leads to a winning, checkmate. All right, here we go. King is forced to capture, and then we can deliver mate with the rook here. All right, here we go. Capture, check, and mate, because the knight cuts off any possibility of the king running away. Okay, 5 more problems to go. The king is pushed forward because there was a threat of bishop and rook piling up on that c2 square. What can we do, though? This is a very famous pattern. So pay special attention to this pattern. It usually takes place when the kings are castled on the queen side, like white has done here. And you want to knock out this pawn, especially with the bishop lined up here, and see see if you can figure out how you would follow this up. All right, pause if you need more time. If not, here we go. We're going to capture with the rook, forcing the pawn to capture, and then our bishop will be able to deliver a mate here along this diagonal that will open up, because this bishop is cutting off on that diagonal. All right, here we go. Capture, sacrificing the rook and clearing the diagonal for the other bishop, and then they crisscross, cutting off the king. So a great pattern there for a queenside attack on the king. All right, 4 more to go. The queen has pushed, well, dropped back here, lining up on our king, which can be a very good strategy in general in chess when you have a less valuable piece lined up on the more valuable piece. You know, whether that's a queen or bishop lined up or rook lined up on the king, or that could be a bishop or rook lined up on a queen, you know, or even a bishop lined up on a rook. But even though there's pieces in between, you know, a knight and a pawn, you never know when things might open up all of a sudden. All right. Our goal in this is to look for a way to sacrifice and clear a line that will allow us to win. You know, how do we do that? How can we sacrifice a piece, clearing a line for attack? Well, remember to look for the checks first. So the only check would be here with the knight. Now, the knight would be unprotected there, so we'll have to look first at what would happen, you know, if we just are captured. You know, if the opponent captures our knight, opens the line up there, then what do we have? I mean, do we have a good follow-up? We could check here. Delivering an attack, well, you know, attacking the king, checking. The king would be forced into the corner. But then what do we do? Do we have a way to continue here? Well, then, oh, we can't even do that. Okay, so let's start over. If we go here and they capture our knight, the queen cannot go here and deliver that check because the bishop will just pick us off. All right. So maybe maybe things are a little more complicated now. Well, maybe we have to sacrifice the knight in a different way. I'm still thinking we probably need to sacrifice the knight. So we could go here. I mean, maybe we could go here with our knight. We could capture the bishop. And then the pawn or the queen would just capture. That would open up a line here. But, you know, then what do we do? We can't go here with our queen because their queen is covering that. So, you know, if we bring the knight here and we're piling up on that pawn with the knight and the bishop, they could block. And checks are most forcing, so I'm still thinking maybe we do that. You know, and they open the G file up. So there. Do we have another option? Oh, okay. All right, we're not going for a mate here, so hopefully you found this. Okay, a very important lesson to be learned here is if you're looking for tactics over the board in a puzzle, in your own game, look for unprotected pieces, and we'll notice the queen is unprotected, so that should help you solve the problem right there. All right, pause, try and figure it out if you can. If you're ready, here we go. We are going to go here with the knight. The knight has to be captured because we're forking king and queen. So the pawn will capture our knight, but now we are able to deliver a check with the bishop and then pick off the queen. So great little pattern there. And a discovered attack on the queen by delivering a check. The king has to take care of that. Then we just pick off this queen. And then we're winning. All right, well, let's try and finish out the last three problems. We just had, a bishop capturing here. It's backed up by the rook. What can we do here? All right, white pieces, what do you have? What do you have? Okay. Well, we have to watch out for checks on our king. I was thinking, is there an attack here? We take that. Rook takes. Then maybe our bishop delivers an attack here. But first, maybe we want to check, forcing the king here, because then when the bishop lands here on e5, it'll be a fork of the king and the rook down here. But before we do all that, checks, captures, and threats, not only does that apply when you're looking at your opponent's pieces, but you have to watch out that your opponent can't surprise you with a check and wreck your whole tactic that you're trying to perform against them. Okay, so I'm thinking, we just captured the bishop here. What if instead of recapturing right away here with their rook, instead, after we capture, do they have anything if they check first? Then we're forced to run. They could check again. And then what do we do? Well, then we can just run up here. All right, so, try and figure that out in your head. If you're ready, here we go. I'm going to go and capture this. If they start checking our king, we'll just run up here to where we can protect our rook. So they're probably most likely going to recapture. Then we can deliver a check, forcing the king here, and then we can fork the rook and the king here, the king and the rook. All right, here we go. And try and figure that out in your head or calculate it, visualize it if you can. And that's why when you're doing chess tactics, you want to try and go nice and slow the first time you go through a bunch of these tactics, and then later you can speed up and go through them faster each time. So capture, we deliver the check first, then we can fork and pick off that piece, and now we're ahead a bishop for a pawn in this position. All right, on to the final two problems. Okay, this pawn is pushed forward. Okay, is there a reason behind that? And look for checks against us. They can capture here. I don't see a follow-up. If they capture here, we can capture with our queen. Okay, so now it's our turn. We're looking for checks against the opponent. Oh, and it looks like, okay. Yeah, definitely look at those checks first, and that'll help you solve this problem. Pause if you need more time. If not, hopefully you found the answer here. So we're going to sacrifice the queen, forcing the king to capture, and then our rook can deliver a mate, because this rook will attack up the h-file, and the other rook cuts off the any way for the king to run away. All right, here we go. And mate. All right, one more problem to go. Hope you're doing well with these tactical puzzles and you're finding the sacrificing moves. Okay, we had a queen checking the opponent, and he ran to h6 here. What can we do? Well, usually the theme here is to sacrifice a piece. If we give up our queen here, I don't really see that doing anything for us. So maybe the knight could deliver a check. They could just capture. And then, I don't really see a follow through. Or a follow up. So maybe this example will be different because perhaps we don't want to sacrifice a piece. Maybe we have to sacrifice a pawn. That'll be a little different. If we go here, if we do that, the king could just capture. But then, I don't know, we could check. The king could run back where he was. All right, maybe we have to get a little trickier here. Maybe the queen has to deliver. Oh, that's not a check there. So, okay, this one, the final one is going to be a little trickier here. Checks are most forcing. So do we go here? The obvious move would be to capture. And then what do we have after that? All right, knight captures, pawn capture, or sorry, knight checks, and then pawn captures. How do we follow up? Okay, maybe we can lure the king to here at some point and deliver a mate here, but we would have to keep this pawn here to cover those maybe. All right, knight checks and it's captured. Wow, I don't know. If we go here, pawn could capture. Wow, I don't know. This one is a little tougher. Hopefully you're having luck on this one. And another good reason to do these tactical problems is to find the patterns that you're unfamiliar with. Okay. What can we do? Maybe we lure the king out first. But he could just capture here. Then we go there, the other pawn could capture. And that clears the way here, for a possible check, forking the bishop and the king. But then we've given up some material there. And it's their turn to move. They could start chasing us around. So we have to dig a little bit deeper. I saw a good piece of advice in a book before where when you're solving a tactical problem, calculate to where you think it's the end of the problem and then go one move deeper. And that'll usually make a big difference. You might overlook something and find it once you go a little deeper. All right. I don't know. I'm thinking we go there. There's a capture. Then if we go here, but then the queen could just capture and deliver a check. So maybe the pawn has to go first. Up, and they accidentally moved it, and that's what they wanted. All right, the pawn had to go first. But now what? We capture here and threaten to go there and deliver a mate. In the meantime, they could capture our knight. The king could go here, but then we could deliver a mate here with the queen. We also want to look at checks first. If we go there, the king could just run back to here. And then, then we could go here, delivering a check. But the king, if we check with the pawn, all right, the king can't go anywhere. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, now we can deliver a mate with this knight. Like that. All right, that one, it says it was rated 1348, but that was an unusual pattern. And, I don't know about you, but I had a little bit more difficulty with that because it was probably something I was unfamiliar with. All right, well, feel free to leave any comments. As always, I enjoy hearing anything from viewers or subscribers, whatever's on your mind, let me know. Also, like and subscribe for those that haven't already to support the channel. Thank you for watching and have a super chess day.